If you can forgive someone who kills a relative, especially a favorite uncle of you, even starts parading with parts of his body to show other people that she humiliates you and whatever you stand for, that means you have such a great character. It's very special. It's something you don't see. And that's what he did. So I thought to myself, well, it was a really special guy. And when I thought that, I thought, yeah, well, I have these arguments for him being a prophet. I see his character. I see the way he treated other people. I see how he treated his enemies. I think he is a prophet. But then I thought to myself, whoa, that's horrible. Because I already accepted this oneness of God. And now I say he is a prophet. If I say there is only one God and Muhammad is his prophet, that's almost shahada. So I thought to myself, okay, let's close the books. Stop. This is going in the wrong direction.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to MEEM Studio channel. With me, Halisha, straight from Indonesia, for all my dear brothers and sisters wherever you are in the global map. It's such a joy and an honor to be here with all of you, my dear brothers and sisters in faith, wherever you may be. It truly warms my heart to be here again. If this is your first time here, we're truly honored to have you. So please feel right at home. Alright guys, in today's video, I've got something really special for you guys about Joram van Klaveren. Now, this guy isn't just your average Joe. He was a former Dutch MP and the right-hand man to Geert Wilders, one of the most vocal critics of Islam in Europe. He had this huge ambition, writing a scholarly book to expose the dangers of Islam as the peak of his career. But instead, Allah guided him through that very process. It's such a gripping interview. We've also got 16 reactors joining us today, a mix of Muslims, reverts, and non-Muslims from all over the globe. Oops, am I rambling too much? My bad. Let's just jump right into it. Bismillah. Let's go, guys.
How and why did you decide to write an anti-Islamic book? How was your life in regards to faith? What did you believe in? What was your heaviest and most regretful expression that you used for Islam? What was the reaction of the people around you when you became Muslim?
I thought to myself, Islam is a lie. Islam is a danger. I got over 2,000 death threats. And in the end, I decided to write an anti-Islam book. God, give me a sign so that I 100% sure know this is the way. I couldn't sleep for it for 2 days. I couldn't accept it. It was so strange.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Joram van Klaveren. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and we are happy to have you with us. I want to first ask you, who is Joram?
Wa alaikum salam, Ahmed. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great honor for me to be here. Joram van Klaveren was born on January 23 in 1979 in Amsterdam, in a pretty regular family, father, mother, brother, another brother, younger, sister, a cat. In Amsterdam, I was born and raised there. We're practicing Protestant family. After I finished high school, I studied comparative religion. I was a teacher for a few years. There happened a lot of...
Yeah, imagine how crazy that must be. But I do also think that when you study theology in Europe, they will always I don't know, I don't want to say something bad about Islam, but they will still try to discredit it, you know, try to find some discrepancies and try to discredit their religion, you know, because you don't hear about many people studying theology and converting to Islam.
I was a teacher for a few years. There happened a lot of things in the Netherlands, especially in my life. Also, when I look at the bigger picture when it came to Islam, I became politically active for the Freedom Party. I became a member of parliament. And in the end, I decided to write an anti-Islam book, which started as an anti-Islam book, changed into this search for God, and it ended up me becoming a Muslim.
How was your life in regards to faith? What did you believe in?
Before I was a Muslim, I was a Protestant Christian from the Reformed Church. We read from the Bible, we all got biblical names, we were all baptized, we went to church, etc., etc.
No, but I feel so stupid, guys, because I don't really know anything about other religions besides mine. I mean, I'm learning more about Islam on the daily, you know, reacting to this type of videos, but I want to know more about other Christian religions as well, about Jewish religion as well.
Coming all the way from Italy, we have Mauro, the man behind the Mauro Nicolo channel. He's a Christian content creator with a great perspective. Let's show him some love by checking out his work and hitting that subscribe button.
I know there are, I mean, he's probably from Northern, so it's probably the Protestant religion, the one from that Erasmus created, right? I guess because it was from Holland as well. But yeah, we need to make some reactions to other religions as well. You know, I want to learn more about this topic.
So we're pretty Christian in that way, in that sense. Of course, I believe that there is a creator. I believed in heaven, hell. I believed in angels, revelations. And of course, what separates the Christians from the Muslims is that I believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. Yeah, in a more philosophical way, I believed he was God himself, of course. I believed in the resurrection and crucifixion of Christ, of course. And I believed in the atonement. But because the Trinity is a very complex concept, whether you believe it or not, it's still very complex.
In the Bible, does Jesus say that he's God?
No.
Never at any point?
No.
So where does this notion that he's God even come from?
The church.
Yeah, but who decided that? What advantage does the church have by making that distinction?
That's a good question.
I don't want to say something bad, you know, because everyone do whatever. But it's really important to understand really correctly, easily, and really clear what is your faith and what you believe in, you know?
Well, what does the Muslim say about the resurrection of Jesus Christ? I've read, I don't remember where, that he like passed out when he was crucified, and then they thought he was dead, and then after 5 or 6 hours when he was in the grave, he just resurrected, you know, came to his senses. I don't know if that's true. Come on, I don't know that. I'm just saying what I read before. So yeah, what's the Muslim point of view on this matter?
Again, at the time when Jesus was around, it was a Roman power, and lots of Hebrew people around, I guess.
Then we have this father and son duo from the UK, the team behind Making Change Studios. What's really interesting is their dynamic. The father is a Muslim while his son is an atheist. Go ahead and visit their channel to support their work.
Rome was a vast empire, and they wanted a religion. When Constantine came to power, he decided on Christianity as the religion that he would use across his empire.
Okay.
So there was a unified Christian thing, because there were lots of different orders, Jews who believed in Jesus, Jews who didn't believe in Jesus.
It's really important. I find it really important. So that's why also I became Muslim. It was more clear to me everything what is about Islam. It's really clear. And why did I not accept the last, like the last prophet? Why I just keep going on and there and standing that with the Trinity, because I didn't really understand when I was little about all these things.
Because if there is a God in the Bible, it says God is eternal. But if you are eternal and in the same you die, you cannot be eternal, immortal at the same time. So there was something when I was a little older, 16, 17, I started questioning things like that. It's not very logical. I talked to many priests, preachers, even rabbis, and the answers I got weren't very satisfying. That made it for me kind of complex. And in the end, I had some doubts about stuff like this. But I said, well, I set it aside and I thought, okay, I just believe it, and perhaps I'm not smart enough to get the whole picture. And I still believed in God. I still believed that Jesus was a very important person. I believed he was the Son of God, but how it exactly was, I left it for what it was.
I get what he's saying there as well, because growing up in our schools and stuff in the UK, we're all kind of towards Christianity, and I never understood that Jesus was the Son of God either, but yet he died on the cross. And how could God die? In Christianity, it's the Trinity, where there's God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. I never felt like anybody gave me a clear answer.
Next is our beloved sister from Scotland, Rebecca, from the channel Rebecca El Yaziri. In this video, she's joined by her lovely non-Muslim mother. After a deep personal quest for the truth, she officially embraced Islam in April 2023. Let's surround our sister with support. Please visit her channel and give her some encouragement.
Everybody just kind of gave you what their own opinion on it was, and nobody gave you a clear answer. And I just kind of lost interest in it because it didn't make sense to me. I've always believed there was some sort of God, but I couldn't get my head around it.
I didn't even think about that. I just was thinking Jesus alayhi salam, he was just a normal person who came here to life, really good man who helped people. He wanted to show what is the way of what God wants.
I know. I remember you used to go to Sunday school and you really, really enjoyed it, didn't you? And then all of a sudden you didn't like it, did you?
I liked it when I was young with the other children we would play. But then when we had to stay in the church and sing hymns and stuff and we weren't allowed to play anymore, it's when I kind of stopped.
It was too heavy for you, wasn't it, at the time? And
now a few years ago, I saw this thing of Trinity and everything, and I said like, but this is not really what I believe, and this is not really what it makes sense to me, and it's really complicated, and not even Christians, they can really explain this. And if you are explaining, you are all the time saying the same things, and you are not really realizing that you are saying just like, what?
How do you feel though? Like, do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God?
my mum was religious and brought up in a convent. We wasn't brought up as a practicing family, and we didn't go to church as a family. Never did. I don't have a strong faith, do I? I mean, I try my best to be a nice person, but that's because of the nature I am.
You will not understand even yourself. But, like, they think they are explaining something.
How and why did you decide to write an anti-Islamic book?
After high school, I went to university and I did comparative religion. And a remarkable thing, I think, was that the first day of me going to college was September 11, 2001. Already thought, okay, these Muslim guys are kind of crazy and this religion isn't the truth. Then a few years later was this guy in the Netherlands called Theo van Gogh. He was a famous filmmaker and he was killed in the street. He was shot and they tried to slit his throat and they put a knife in his stomach with a letter on it for another girl, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and it said, "You are next." So it strengthened my anti-Islam feelings in such a way that I thought, well, I have to become politically active to do something and stop this evil of harming our country.
You started politics because of Islam?
Yeah, and that really had to do with Islam. That was the reason that I wanted to write a book, to explain to people why Islam was a danger for the world. When I was writing my book, like I said earlier, the questions, the doubts I had about Christianity popped up again. And that was about truth, of course, because I was a believing Christian guy. And yeah, the Christian questions I had in the end were answered in an Islamic way. Because, of course, when I started writing the book, a lot of people think that it was a political book. But it wasn't so much a political book, it was a religious book, because I wanted to show people why Islam was a danger as a religion, and I wrote it from a Christian perspective. So in the beginning I made a comparison between the Christian concept of God and the Islamic concept. So I started comparing it. But because I had these doubts about the Trinity and I saw Tawheed, the oneness of God in Islam, I thought, yeah, it sounds a little bit more logical.
It is interesting actually, because a lot of scholars in Islam, they have studied all religions. So you can say anything to them about Christianity, Judaism, anything, and they could give you an answer.
The person had been killed and there was a note on them. It's a shocking thing to happen. But in my mind, I don't see that as, oh, that was Muslims that did that. It was an individual who did that. It doesn't represent the whole. He was unable to see that, and he was sort of looking at it as a whole. So it's good that he's been able to turn that around and his life has changed for that.
And I've seen a lot of scholars talking about how in the Bible it said that Jesus, peace be upon him, prayed as a Muslim, his head on the ground, exactly as a Muslim. And yet Christians don't pray in that way, and they do this cross thing. but Jesus never did that himself. So that's just something that they've picked up in the churches. It's not even in their book. It's just something that's come over the time.
And then I thought to myself, well, I reread the Bible to see, to refresh myself, to see, okay, why isn't the concept of Islam, the Tawhid concept, isn't the Christian concept? But when I was reading the Old Testament and I saw what the Old Testament prophets said, it was one God, one God, one God. And then I thought, okay, I'll look only at the words of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. And then there's this story in the New Testament where a guy comes to Jesus and he asks him, what is the most important thing in life? How can I gain paradise? And he said there are two things. He says, hear, O Israel, hear your God is one. Treat your neighbor as you want to be treated yourself. So I thought, well, even Jesus Christ says, hear, O Israel, your God is one. So I thought, well, this whole Muslim concept of God sounds more logical, and it's the same concept that I find in the Old and the New Testament. And I know Christianity as a religion teaches something else, but it isn't the concept of God that I find in the Bible.
Exactly.
So after weeks and weeks of study, reading, rereading, kinds of...
I'm sorry, but this is, you know, like, now so many Christians, they say, but you don't know, you don't understand this thing of Trinity. You know, because I became a Muslim. And, you don't understand what Christ was and why he came and why he was God in man shape or whatever, you know, like, this is all like... For real.
So after weeks and weeks of study, reading, rereading, kinds of books, I thought to myself, okay, perhaps this oneness of God is something that is true. So that's how it started.
What resources did you use while doing your research?
Because I was kind of shocked, I started writing to several authorities on these religious matters. And one of the guys that I wrote to was Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, and he's a professor from Cambridge University. But in a way it was kind of strange, of course, because I was a politician back then still. I was writing an anti-Islam book with an anti-Islam purpose. And I'm asking this Muslim professor from another country, can you help me? So I told him, I'm writing a book. I have a lot of questions. So I was very plain why I thought, why is Islam promoting terrorism? Why is anti-woman? Why is anti-Christian? Anti-whatever. After, I think, 6 weeks, he sent me a very extensive email. And he started explaining, directly answered a lot of my questions. But he also told me, you have to read this article, read this book, read that book, ask this person. And so he was very extensive in his way of explaining. But in the end, after I read all these books and articles and made a comparison between prophets from the Old Testament with Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, I had no arguments anymore to say they are prophets and he is not. And I thought to myself, well, if I accept Moses on these grounds and I cannot accept the prophet, then there is something else. So I thought, why don't I think he is a prophet? And I thought, oh, perhaps because he had many wives. But then again, when you look at Solomon or you look at King David, Abraham, there are a lot of people in the Old Testament that had more wives. And when you look at even outside of the religious books, culturally in Europe, in Africa, Asia, everywhere, there were men with several wives for several reasons. So I thought to myself, well, that cannot be a reason either. So one by one, all these reasons fell. And in the end, I thought, well, I have to say all of them are not prophets. But I didn't believe that because I thought, well, the things they did, they said, the miracles that happened, etc., they were confirmed in what they said and what they did. So they are. And then I said,
and he also spoke about the prophets. The reason why he had to accept Prophet Muhammad was the fact that when he checked the other prophets in the Bible, they all had more than one wives. So that actually lets him, thought about it that, yes, he might have, maybe prophets who had more than one wife, then maybe he's the one too, His story was very, very interesting,
And then, I'm sorry, and then you have also to see, for example, all these prophets, they did miracles, right? But you cannot prove them right now, okay? So you are believing actually in a fairy tale. And we have proofs because it's not so long time ago. Okay, it's a long time ago, but not really long time, and we have everything written down.
We have our sister Mariana da Silva, a convert from Portugal. Let's all head over to her channel and give her some warm support.
So you can check and you can see the evidences and everything of our Prophet ﷺ. So, and then he lived the Quran. And Allah said in the Quran that He will protect this book, not like the other ones. So all the other ones you see clearly they are changed, and like it's like you are really believing in a tale.
Well, then I have to accept that Prophet Muhammad perhaps is a prophet too. So I was doubting it. So first I thought, well, it's the most evil person I know because of the history. Then I said, well, perhaps it's not that evil, but he's not a prophet. And in the end, I started doubting, perhaps he is a prophet. Yeah, that took, of course, me reading a lot of books again. And the one thing that I think was very wise of Abdul Hakim Murad to say was, he said, well, the books you read about with the anti-Islam arguments are written by non-Muslims. He said, if you want to know more about Christianity, you don't read books from atheists. You start reading the books from the Christians. Why do they believe this? What are the arguments? So he said you have to do the same with Islam. So start reading Islamic books from Islamic teachers, from Islamic scholars, etc. And then you can see, if you compare the books on the same topic of people who are Muslim and wrote those books and non-Muslim, you can see where they took the wrong turn, where they translated words in the wrong way sometimes.
Yeah, I want to say just that. This happens because I'm a history buff, so this happens a lot with history too, especially for communist countries. They always try to discredit them, our countries, come on. I mean, I'm from the Western world, so who am I kidding? Yeah, that happens a lot. Come on, you gotta always try to search for the right fonts when you want to learn something.
Please, that everyone who says something about Islam, just go and read the Quran, really. Because you will see it's really different. It doesn't have nothing to do. It's not the same, not even a little bit as the Bible or as the Torah or whatever, all the other books of Hinduism, or it doesn't matter. All the other faiths, I mean.
He started reading more books, but he was reading books from, about that Christians wrote about Islam and about different people. And then one of the guys told him, he said, hey, you wouldn't read, as a Christian, you wouldn't read a book about Christianity that was written by an atheist about Christianity and then wonder what's going on with Christianity. That's just not how it works.
But, like, it's really different book. It's really, really different. It's like God is talking to you directly and telling you things that you have to know how to live this life.
Perhaps even not on purpose, but just because they didn't know where things are added, where things left out of it. So, and in the end, you see, there's this other religion almost created because of all these things. And that's what I did. And that's what I also did with the Life of the Prophet, because I read a book from Martin Links, The Life of the Prophet, based on the earliest source of Muhammad. And it was written, of course, by a convert. And his way of reasoning, his way of telling, his way of writing appealed to me because it's culturally the same thing. How do I approach a certain topic, etc. And it was the first time that I saw him not so much as a warlord, because that's the picture I had in my mind, but I saw him as a father, and I saw him as a friend and a teacher, and so much more. And so, I saw the person and his character, and I said, well, I can say a lot, but I cannot say that this is not a good man. So his character persuaded me to read more and to want to know more.
It's really good to learn and make a research about the Prophet's life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's really important because, as he said, like he's like the living Quran, right?
What surprised you the most while doing your research?
The story about Hind, there was something that, like a switch, like I had to change. And that was because I thought Hind was the wife of one of the enemies, Abu Sufyan. And in a way, they gave money to kill Hamza, the favorite uncle of the Prophet. And that was what happened on the battlefield. He got killed. They even paraded with his ears and cut off his nose and horrible stuff. So the Prophet was deeply sad, of course, of what happened. And years later, he became powerful. He came in power in Mecca. And then there was Hind. And I was reading this book and I thought, okay, now she gets crucified or her head gets cut off or something like that. But he said, well, I cannot look at her right now, but everybody is forgiven. And if you want to stay here and live among the Muslims, it's possible. If you don't want that, you can go. But bloodshedding is over now. And I thought to myself that she was forgiven. If you can forgive someone who kills a relative, especially a favorite uncle of you, even starts parading with parts of his body to show other people that she humiliates you you and whatever you stand for, that means you have such a great character. It's very special. It's something you don't see. And that's what he did. So I thought to myself, well, it was a really special guy. And when I thought that, I thought, well, I have these arguments for him being a prophet. I see his character. I see the way he treated other people. I see how he treated his enemies. I think he is a prophet.
और जब हज़रत मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम साहब के किस्से उन्होंने सुने, स्पेशली वो चाचा जान के साथ जो किया गया, दहशतगर्दी मचाई गई, आतंकवाद किया गया, उनको कत्ल कर दिया गया, फिर भी उन्होंने कातिलों को माफ़ कर दिया, ये बहुत बड़ी बात है.
If you look at the Prophet's life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will see so many things that you were misunderstanding.
As he was stating that he was actually a politician, and he always believed that Muslim is a lie, Islam is a lie. He was actually even writing a book against the Islam, but at the end of the day, he ended up becoming a Muslim. A very interesting and inspiring story by Joram, and I so much love it.
The Old Testament, it was talking about one God, one God, one God. That's all it's talking about. And he said even Jesus said, one God, and treat your neighbors as you would like to be treated. Mm-hmm. And then he said he kept doing research why he wouldn't want to accept the Prophet Muhammad as a true prophet.
It's really important. He really said something really good. It's really important that you see the life of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You will understand what is Islam, because how he act, how he was, how he think, how he did stuff, what he said, everything. This is how we should be.
And he didn't understand, so he was like, well, why wouldn't I believe that he's a prophet? He started looking at the other prophets, peace be upon them all, and saying, hey, why would I not believe that Moses or Muhammad or any one of these people is interchangeable? Why am I not saying that he's a real prophet?
But then I thought to myself, whoa, that's horrible. Because I already accepted this oneness of God, and now I say he is a prophet. If I say there is only one God and Muhammad is his prophet, that's almost shahada. So I thought to myself, okay, let's close the books, stop. This is going in the wrong direction. And of course, I wasn't that anti-Islam anymore because of what I read, what I saw, and what I experienced. What I tell you now, it sounds a little like a fairy tale, but it really happened. In the end, there were all these books at the table, and when I had this feeling of, okay, this is shahada in a way.
One part that got my attention was when he said he was writing against Islam, he was writing negative things about Islam. Then he read a particular verse in the Bible that tallied with what was in the Quran. There's only one God, So that actually made him, think about it, that wow, then Islam is the way for him.
Amazing story. I just want to say that most of the time when people hate Islam, it always starts with them watching the media or news or political reasons, and or the personal experience that they have, maybe bad personal experience with Muslims.
Amna, a Muslim convert from Iceland and the owner of the Amna B channel. Don't forget to visit and show our sister your best support by subscribing to her channel.
But it always is with the people, But once people learn about Islam, they realize that Islam is not bad. So with knowledge, a lot of things can change with knowledge.
I thought, well, I put all the books away and I put the books on the highest shelf, but there were so many books that a lot of books fell off the shelf. And one of the books that fell off the shelf was the Quran. And when I picked it up, my hand was on a page with Surah 22, Ayat 46. And it says, it's not the eyes that are blind, but the hearts. And I thought to myself, that really is my problem, because it wasn't the eyes. I really could see what I'd written down myself. Nobody forced me to write this book. Nobody said you have to write this or that. I started writing myself, and I could see it with my own eyes, but I still couldn't accept the fact that I said he is a prophet, there is this one God. I just couldn't. So it wasn't my eyes that were blind, but it was really my heart. I couldn't accept it. I think my nafs or whatever, my ego, I couldn't accept it. And I said, well, God, I don't care care if it's the God from the Bible or the Quran. Give me a sign or something so that I 100% sure know this is the way. And I went to bed, but when I woke up, I felt very secure in myself. I really felt very secure. I've never been more secure about anything else. The whole anxiety or the whole doubting issue disappeared like snow for the sun. And I thought to myself, well, I think I'm a Muslim. Well, and then of course I had to tell other people.
To be a Muslim, all you need to believe is that there's one God and that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the final messenger. And that makes you Muslim. That's all you need to believe in. And then the next step would be taking your declaration of faith in front of 2 witnesses, and then that's it, you're Muslim.
I've never heard anyone talk about the Quran and his journey to Islam that way. That was really beautiful. And I think what a story to come from writing that book and being a political figure that is now doing this.
And it's really interesting because a lot of people feel like they know so much about Islam, but it's just hateful things that they've heard, whether that's in the media or from wherever it is they've heard it from, and a lot of it isn't true, and yet people have such an awful opinion on it, but they don't actually know what Islam is.
What was the reaction of the people around you when you became Muslim? Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. We saw that 80% of our audience, including this video, are not subscribed to our channel. As you know, we're a non-profit organization. And
I've been there. I think even more in my channel. Maybe like 3% are subscribed.
As you know, we are a non-profit organization and advertisements are disabled on our videos. So the only reason we are asking for this is to spread the truth. It may seem like a small act, but inshallah, it may be a means of guidance for many people. Now let's click the subscribe button and let's together walk towards eternity. What was the reaction of the people around you when you became Muslim?
Most of them were very negative, of course. For a lot of people, especially some uncles and aunts, it was kind of a shock. They heard it when it was on the news. I told my mother, and my mother started crying. And my wife was pretty open. Yeah, she was very cool about it. She said, well, if Islam is what you really believe and that's in your heart, who am I? And yeah, some people from my old work were really aggressive. I got over 2,000 death threats from people who used to support me, of course, people who voted for me, people said the most horrible things, we will rape your wife, shoot you, you know where your children go to school, stuff like that. And most of them, of course, is nonsense because they're crazy people writing things on their computer. So it was kind of a hectic time. And I had to tell my work, of course, and it was this Christian organization. So to say that the leader of the pack, he said, I can't believe it. And he said, well, I noticed this change when you talked about certain topics on radio. You were kind of a little more mild, not so harsh anymore, but you becoming a Muslim.
When you have that feeling in your heart and you know it's just the truth, you have to follow that. And in my opinion, those tuggings at our heart, the passions, that is our direct line to God. That is how essentially God communicates with us, those tuggings on our heart, and then the things that feel very exciting and the passions and the ideas, and you just can't stop, thinking about it and feeling excited about it. And that connects to our path and what we're meant to do, and we are all meant to follow our heart. So
Han and Kelly, a non-Muslim couple from the United States, are the creators behind Han Meditations. Feel free to visit and support their channel.
I think anytime you're speaking your true truth from your heart, it is meaningful and it is the right thing. And I think this guy really did it right. I mean, first of all, I really commend him and I respect him for going. He was a known person on the radio, talking about anti-Islam. And for him to come out and totally switch his mind around, you really do have to get rid of your ego.
And after I said, yeah, I became Muslim, he said, I couldn't sleep for it for 2 days. I couldn't accept it. It was so strange. But the hardest part for me was telling my grandfather, because my grandfather was dying and he was 93, 94 years old, and he was on his deathbed at home. I had to tell him, and my mother told me, yeah, you have to tell your grandfather. It was her father. So I said, well, then you have to come with me. It's got like a shield. And I just said, well, grandfather, I became a Muslim. And then he closed his eyes. And I thought he stopped breathing because, he was so old. And he really stopped breathing for a while. And then he started breathing again. And he looked at me and he said, well, at least she didn't become a Catholic. So it was very funny. The last thing, and my old boss from the radio, he said, well, how do we know that you're not becoming Hindu one day or something else? And I told him, well, I never chose a religion one time, and it was when I became a Muslim. Before that, I didn't choose my religion. I was born in a Christian family. I was raised in a Christian way, and I'm very grateful for all the good things that it brought me, but it was not my decision. And the only time I made a decision was me becoming a Muslim, and it was the
I think there's also that danger, you know. I have some relatives that they changed, like they're very passionate about religion, but they changed religion like maybe 6 or 7 times over the years. First there were Jehovah, then Mormons, then there were evangelists, Protestants. They tried everything there was. They still haven't become Muslim.
I loved when he spoke to his grandfather and what his grandfather said. I think that's really sweet. And that's just, you know, the heart and soul of, you know, obviously his grandfather, he just saw love. And that's all that mattered. And I think that's a really beautiful, pivotal thing. So I think it was a really well-made video.
He kept going, then he had the revelation where he finally became the Muslim, and then he ended up telling his grandfather, and he was on his deathbed, he said he stopped breathing, everything. Yeah. And then he just finds, well, as long as you're not being Catholic, because especially a lot of older generations, there's just kind of beef between Catholics and Protestants that I never really understood that. I think it's just wonky, but you know, it's a real thing.
I wonder why. How's that even possible? I mean, probably if they wouldn't become a Muslim, they wouldn't have changed to other religion, probably. I wonder if there's people becoming Muslim and then reverting to Christianity or whatever religion they believed before. Is that such a story? Let me know.
Was me becoming a Muslim, and it was the most, like I said, I think the most important decision I made, and it was the most rational decision I made. I never took years and years to decide one thing, only becoming a Muslim.
How did you feel when you made your first salah?
It's of course a beautiful moment, but very strange as well, because as a Christian you're not used to pray like that. You pray with your hands together and perhaps on your knees in front of your bed or something. But I think it's very beautiful that you really prostrate, so you really bow down in the deepest way for your Lord. So that's a very humbling, beautiful thing, I think, and that, it made me feel very happy.
What were the 3 biggest challenges you faced when you converted to Islam?
Well, becoming a Muslim, of course, was a big challenge because I had to tell the world and family, and that was a big challenge. The part of thinking that it would be very hard to become a Muslim, because especially as a Protestant Christian, there aren't so many things you have to do in a religious sense. As a Muslim, in terms of practice, it is required to pray 5 times a day. It's required to eat in a certain way. It is required to think in a certain way. You have to be the best in a way every moment because of your relation with your Creator, and because of the fact that you have to pray 5 times a day. It's a constant reminder in a way of the Creator, so that makes you much more aware of the fact that you have a Lord than as a Christian. That's how I experienced it. And I thought to myself, whoa, 5 times a day praying, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, I have to do so that made it hard in the head. But after I became Muslim, it wasn't hard at all.
I think the prayer in Islam is really special as well, but I can only really talk from Christianity because that's the only other kind of religious background I've had. And we would go and pray once every Sunday, and then anytime you kind of wanted or needed anything, you would just pray as and when. But when you have set times 5 times a day, it really gives you structure to your day.
Well, he decided to learn Islam with an open mind, and then at the end of the day, he became a Muslim. That is why sometimes it's good for you to find out for yourself. When you find out for yourself and then you get the truth, then you do what you feel is good for you, so that you don't have to be in a religion that you are not devoted. There's no just person, there's no much commitment into it. You are just in this religion because you just grew up and then your family are into this religion, and that's it.
Now I'm so emotional now, because after watching his speech about how he converted and how he changed his mind about Muslim, it's amazing, you know? Yes.
Meet our wonderful sister, Anny, also known as Oysha Ismailova, the heart behind Anny's vlogs. Originally from Uzbekistan, She's so dedicated to sharing beautiful Islamic reactions and uplifting vibes. It would mean the world if you could visit and support our sister's channel with all your heart.
Because I'm Muslim, but I'm not praying 5 times, but he just changed his religion, and he's trying to do everything in a halal way. Oh, fantastic, you know. So yeah, amazing, yeah. Sorry.
I feel like it keeps you grounded as well when things are going on in your life and you think, oh, you know, it's terrible, why is this happening to me or whatever. Because you are praying 5 times a day, it just keeps you grounded. There's a lot more past this life, basically.
I know, definitely, and it's structured, isn't it? And maybe other people from other faiths might forget for a few days and then...
Are you raising your kids as Muslims?
Well, you try, of course. I don't know, when you're really raised as a Muslim, I think it's a very difficult job, especially in these times. Of course, when I married, I wasn't a Muslim. You promise in a way that you raise your children as Christians. So after I became Muslim, I'm not raising my children as Christians, of course. If the kids have questions about Christianity, they ask my wife, they get Christian answers. And if they come to me, they get Islamic answers. But most of the time, she says, ask your father. And my wife cooks halal for everybody, so that's very sweet. She says, well, I'm not going to cook 5 meals, so everybody eats the same. You want halal, everybody eats halal. So in a way, it's like an organic process.
What was your heaviest and most regretful expression that you used for Islam?
I think Islam is a lie, because that's something I used to say. Islam is a lie, the Quran is poison. But when I said Islam is a lie, that's the whole religion and everything that comes with it. So that's like the highest level of Jahiliyyah in a way. Yeah, that's something I regret, because it was like an umbrella and everything else was under this concept of Islam is a lie, because that was the core thought.
I never really regret it. You know, sometimes I make a reaction video where I say something really stupid and people maybe get angry, you know, make fun of me or say something, but I don't really regret it, you know. If I wouldn't have said that stupid thing, nobody would have corrected me, and I would have gone on my whole life, keep on saying wrong stuff that didn't make any sense. So I don't think you should regret anything.
It was a really lovely story. I really like what he said about his kids as well, because that is true. When we are born into it, into whatever belief it is, and then I think we can make our own decisions as we grow.
Then we have Melissa Mitchell, a non-Muslim creator representing Australia. On her channel, JIMBS, she loves diving into deep and thought-provoking content just like this. Do drop by her channel and show some support for her amazing journey.
I like that, and that's something I'm really big on as well, because as he said, it was never his choice until he chose this faith, and I think that was a really nice thing.
You can say the worst thing in the world, like he said, like Islam is a lie, then he converted to Islam and he regrets that, but I think it's just a stupid thing to regret stuff, you know? If you don't say something stupid, you would never know, because people will never correct you. You will keep on believing the wrong stuff. Hope it makes sense.
And of course, I do blame myself, and I know there are a lot of people out there not practicing Muslims that do so. And in a way, I understand it, because in a political sense and in a social, cultural sense, everything I said and done is still there. I sometimes even hear arguments from people in my old party that I invented in a way. Yeah, that's something that bothers me, and that's one of the reasons that we founded an organization. It's called the IXC, Islamic Experience Center, and we go to schools, primary school, high school, college, universities, but also to departments of the government, other social organizations, churches, to take away misconceptions about Islam, to share the message, to show Islam in its true colors. And we do it by virtual reality with the glasses, so it's a very fun experience as well. And we try to erase in a way the things I said and done in the past.
How should people research about Islam? Do you advise just searching at Google?
No, I would certainly not advise Google. It's the last thing I would advise. I said shut down the computer. No, I think it's very important that people read books, real books with pages and stuff. I would recommend Muhammad, His Life Based on the Earliest Sources of Martin Links, the book I talked about earlier. It's a green book. And I think it's very important for people not just dive into the Quran, because it's a very complex book. And if you don't have anybody who can teach you what you read, especially especially most of the people who don't know anything about Islam are
like
not.
if when we're doing our recitation reaction, that's why I slow it down, because I'm not digesting anything if we make it fast. Like,
Up next, we have Rukia Daktin. She is a Christian from the Philippines and runs the channel under her own name. Go ahead and visit her channel to show some support.
we need you guys to explain, and also other videos or things that we need to react to or read before we kind of like move on, because there's so much complexity that how will I know as a normal person, right?
Wow, Kelly, that was powerful.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was a great experience. And that just goes to show a lot of people need to be doing their proper research whenever they're looking into anything. And that's really what Kelly and I like to do. We like to do a lot of research on all different topics, all different religions, and not judge anything. We never try and judge anything or look at anything like this is right, this is wrong. We just try and get as much information as we can.
So that's the vibe. So it's kind of like a progress. It's not something that you just know overnight. It's impossible. Firstly, there's a language barrier, so that's one. Secondly, there's so much like history and concepts that we have to know. I like basic things I still don't know, right? So
And I think it's very important for people not just dive into the Quran, because it's a very complex book. And if you don't have anybody who can teach you what you read, especially most of the people who don't know anything about Islam are not fluent Arabic, classic Arabic speaking people. So you will read an interpretation of the Quran or a translation, and most of the time that's not the real deal, of course. So I would advise people just to study the Sirat, study the character and the life of the Prophet, because that's what the tradition teaches us as well. His life was the Quran. He was the living Quran in a way. Just study his Sunnah, and I think that is the best way of discovering Islam.
What would you like to say as your final comments?
I became much more happy after I became Muslim. So I would like to invite everybody to become a Muslim, just because it brings peace to
your soul and your heart. Well, I wouldn't know, right? I wouldn't know. But there is something here that I'm gonna leave it, because it's really hard to talk about, especially if you don't still know so many things.
I so much thank God for him finding the truth, and that is the same thing I normally says. I always says that we, instead of us being confused which religion will we go to, I think his best way is just for us to go to God, the one who created us, to give us direction.
Apostle Newton, Silas, and Nancy Grace are a Christian couple from the United States. They're the ones managing the Lifestyle NMS channel. Swing by and give their channel a boost.
Of where we can worship, or a place of worship.
To me, it doesn't feel like that still. It feels more, I'm still anxious. Maybe that's just psychological and also environmental, but maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll get to that answer. Maybe we'll get to that peace that he's talking about.
brings peace to your soul and peace to your heart. It is the truth. It resonates with heart and soul. At least look at it from an Islamic perspective. Try to read and study the life of the Prophet. Try to understand what the Muslims believe. Not so much the behavior of Muslims, because there are a lot of Muslims that don't live like Muslims, including myself. I don't always live like a Muslim. I should. We all do. But you should look at the example of all examples, and it was the Prophet. And if you study his life, perhaps you find guidance that leads you to the truth.
How the whole thing started, because I know it was not easy on his own side, due to the fact that he's an influencer, he's a popular figure, and he's into politics. So him starting that kind of thing in the beginning and later converted to the same religion that he was against.
Next up, we have Bukunmi, a Christian content creator and the face behind the Bukunmi BK Crown channel. Make sure to check out her channel and show her some love.
Definitely people will come for him, they will come for him, definitely. I'm just imagine how he was able to cope with all those backlash, cope with the negativities from people after he converted to Islam. But that was really interesting. Very, very interesting story.
Very beautiful video. And definitely उनके लिए एक बहुत ही bigger deal थी अपनी family को disclose करना कि हाँ मेरे को अल्लाह ने हिदायत बख्श दी है और अब से मैं मुसलमान हो गया हूँ. It's extremely difficult at first.
Last but definitely not least, Nidhi Sharma is the creator behind the Kalea Reacts channel and hails from India. Be sure to visit and show some love to her channel.
पहले तो खुद एक्सेप्ट करना और फिर अपने परिवार को बताना, क्योंकि आपकी परवरिश एक अलग मजहब में हुई है जो कि शायद अगेंस्ट था इस्लाम के. आप खुद जोराम साहब खुद अगेंस्ट थे इस्लामी दीन के कि यार ये खराब है, दहशत गर्दी मचा रहा है.
Interesting. What part that got my attention was
Yeah, that was a great
when he was
explanation. That just goes to
writing
show what
It's
One of the contrasts between how
I hadn't heard someone explain it that way with what he said about just
Oh wow, pretty mind-blowing, right? Joram van Klaveren's story is just something else. I really hope this adds to our understanding and grows our love for Allah and for our Prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him. So, what do you think, guys? Drop a comment and let's keep this brotherhood going, even with the oceans between us. Make sure to show some love to the Reactors too. All their links are right there in the description, and really hope you guys got something out of this. And wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Same destination.
Same destination. I think he spoke well.